Welcome to the Zach of All Trades podcast, where we dive into business, life, growth, and everything in between. I'm your host, Zach Rumfield, and here we're going to talk about the big dreams, the everyday grind, and the inspiration that pushes us forward. Whether it's chasing down your goals, learning from challenges, or exploring new ideas, this is a place for real conversations about building a better life and a better future. Let's get started. Holy crap. I haven't done a podcast in like 4 months now. It's been a wild fourth quarter of 2025. It's 2026 now. And that's a surprise. I feel like we were just in 2015 looking into the future. I was talking about it with one of my employees today, Ben. And it was like, I remember in 2015 or like 2016, the first in like Trump's first term, looking back or looking ahead, and it was like 2025 was like we were going to have flying cars. I felt like 2025 was like iRobot style, and now we're in 26. Anyways, time flies. It's crazy. It's 2026 now. So I kind of wanted to do like a little recap on 2025. It was a big year. I mean, a lot of things happened in my life that were life altering. And some things I'm going to talk about and some things I'm not, because we're not quite ready to talk about it, announce it, whatever it is. We got some big things coming in 26 and I'm excited for it, but I wanted to recap 25. I think it's good to reflect on things and just kind of see where you've come from. If you listen to some of my other podcasts, God, I feel like a total, and my mom's calling me right in the middle of the podcast. Mom, I can't talk right now. I'm sorry. If you listen to my other podcasts, I feel like a total fraud. Like I haven't done a podcast in 4 months. Like I've done a podcast every day for the last 5 years. Dude, this is like episode number 6. It's not that big of a deal, but it has been a while. And I thought like it's 26 now. I gotta jump on and get back on this because I really want to build this podcast up. I think it's going to be super impactful for a lot of you. And I'm excited. So what was I saying now? 25 recap? Yeah. So if you listen to my other podcast previously, you kind of know my story. Kind of just going from the start of 25 now, January, I was in a sales position. I was in a sales job in the roofing industry that just wasn't working out. But I was like pushing through, and I started actually getting better. Like my conversations, my phone calls were getting better, but it was just it was a tough industry. So out of frustration in March, I actually just started my own business. I saw this video right on Instagram of this guy that was making a lot of money doing door-to-door window cleaning sales. And you know, if you're watching this podcast, you've probably seen that too. He's a pretty big deal. He's like Lester. And there's another one. I think his name's Cody. Anyways, saw the guy. I was like, dude, I can do that. And I think I can make more money on my own than what I was making at the time. So I jumped into this thing. I started with a squeegee and I started with a brush, and I'm not going to wear the story out. You know, I've talked about it a couple of times on my other podcasts. Started with a squeegee, started with a brush, and started door knocking. And now I've got a team. I've got a full business, fully insured. I've got thousands of dollars worth of equipment now. We've done probably 150 to 200 homes in the Memorial Houston area. And we keep ourselves busy. That was in March. I started that. Actually, it may have been like the beginning of April. And then come May, I was on my own. Come May, I started really excelling and getting good at this. I'm generally good at holding a conversation and talking with people and being curious. And as long as that person's not awkward, then I'm not awkward. But I can hold a pretty good conversation with people. So I started excelling in the door knocking. And come around May, I started getting pretty full. My schedule started filling up to the point where, I was doing pretty good. And then I knew I had to get some employees on. I wanted to work with some young kids that were like home for the summer from college. And I was trying out like the Nextdoor app to try and generate more business. And I happened across this ad from this guy that was just like, "Hey, I do power washing, me and my friend. And if you need your house power washed or whatever, give me a call." So I called him, and I could tell he wasn't like, professional in any way. I could tell that it was just kind of like a summer gig or whatever. So I actually sent him a message, and I told him to text me. He texted me, and we went and had lunch. We met up, talked about kind of what my vision was, what I wanted for him, what I wanted for myself, for the company. And I think he was kind of inspired by it. And he said, "Yeah, like let me talk with my buddy, let me talk with my partner." I was like, "Sure, go for it." And we ended up meeting, the three of us, and kind of agreeing to, I guess, agreeing to some terms. And we went out door knocking. We went out door knocking, scheduled jobs, and then we do the jobs. And I'd have them kind of alternating. They would one on, one off, and then we would flip. And so we did that like through half of like the second half of June, and then July and part of August before they ended up going back to school. One was at A&M, one was at UT, currently, I guess. And then it was pretty cool. That was my first time ever employing somebody. It was a huge learning curve for me. Having to manage payroll, having to manage your employees, having to manage the ongoing jobs. And it actually got to a point where we had two jobs going on at once. So I was bouncing from one job to the other, just project managing, making sure everything was going good. And it went really good. So that was like June, July, August. But in like early June, I had my brother come out and help me out. And I was, my brother, it doesn't have the sales background, sales experience at all. And so I was trying to get him used to going door to door, having conversations. And so he would shadow me for a while. Actually, it was a pretty good play too, because whenever we would knock on the door, I'd introduce myself, introduce my brother, and I'd be talking with them. And a lot of the homeowners, I guess they just had a soft spot for two brothers getting out there and getting after it and working hard. And so me and my brother went out. This was like early June, right before I hired those kids, those employees. And we went out one day to door knock. And I just remember, it was hot. It was June in Houston, Texas. And we had knocked like 38. I think we were at like door number 38. It was like 38 no's or 38 no's or no answers. And I could tell my brother was getting discouraged. And I remember telling him, I said, "Hey, look, dude, you don't realize it, but we could quit right now and we will have nothing, or we can continue to go. And what's going to happen is we're going to hit a yes. And then what's going to happen is that yes is going to turn into, once you get that first sale, it makes every other sale after that much easier." And sure enough, we were on door number 38. I think we got to like when I said that, it was 38. When we got to 42 or somewhere around there, and then we got a yes. And then we got to 45, and then we got a yes. Then 46, a yes. 47, a yes. 48. We literally had like 4 houses in a row that said yes. And before we knew it, in a matter of like 12 doors, we had like $2,300 in revenue lined up for the week. And we lined up like half the week. All right. Sorry about that. Instacart showed up and the dog started going crazy. So I had to take care of that. But where was I think I was talking about my brother and I going out, and so I remember that in June. That was a huge lesson for me because I mean I had it happen before, but it was really funny that I was working with my little bro, and I just remember telling him that like on door number 38, I knew he was discouraged because we had had nothing happen. And I remember telling him that, and then like in a matter of I don't know 12 doors, something like that, we had $2,300 in jobs lined up, and it happens like that. So that was a really big lesson for me that I learned in 25 was don't give in to your emotions. Don't give in to your negativity, your discouragement, your doubt. Like just push through, especially if you're on something and you know what you have to do in order to succeed. Don't cut yourself short. That was a really big lesson that I learned in 2025. And so I tell my employees today about it. I tell Ben today. I'm going to talk about Ben here in a little bit. Ben is one of my employees. He's the manager of the company. And so that was in June. Then we had my guys that were the college dudes, July and part of August. And then I ended up going to England, actually. That's where I got this. I ended up going to England halfway through August. Actually, it was at the very beginning of August. And I know this isn't like relevant to sales or anything like this, but I want to talk about my trip to England because it was actually one of the best trips I'd ever gone on. If you haven't been to England, if you're not well traveled, let's just stop the business sales and personal development and all, and let's talk about traveling. If you're not well traveled, and that's I mean, one reason that I gotta give it to my European friends. When I started dancing, I got into the European clique, and those people are like the most well traveled people in the world. My wife is European. She's from England. I don't know if you can consider that European. I mean, I know, yes, you can, but it's not like continental Europe. She'll get mad at me for saying that, I'm sure. But like England is they're like a mix between American and England, and I'm sorry, a mix between American and European. But anyways, if you haven't traveled, make sure you set yourself some time to travel, whether that is in the United States, that's cool. But like, go see Europe, go see the world, go see things that you can't see in the United States. It's just an incredible world out there. Europe, especially. I've been to Greece and England in the last couple of years, and I guess you can't consider Istanbul. I mean, we had a layover in Istanbul, but that doesn't really count. England was fantastic. We went, so we flew into London. And if you haven't been to London, if you like the big cities, you should go. If you don't like the big cities, you shouldn't. I don't like the big cities, so I don't like London. I don't like going to London. My trip this time was better than the first time. And that's because the first time I went, it was winter, and it's just I'm telling you right now, the reason that England conquered the world is because, especially if you realize they conquered like all of the Mediterranean, all of the Caribbean and like Africa and places that are like warm and tropical, is because they had to get the hell off that island because the winters are just brutal there, miserable winters. And I'm just telling you, when they conquered the world, they were like, yeah, I just conquered the most beautiful island in the world, and I'm not going back to England, Barbados, or the Virgin Islands, or Australia, or wherever it is that they conquered. But in the summer, it's actually really nice there. And so we went to London, and we got to see Windsor Castle, and we got to see Buckingham Palace and do some cool things. But we went up to the north of England in Yorkshire, where my wife is from. She's from a city up there called Leeds. And we got to go see the countryside, and that's what I love. I love the countryside. I don't love the city that much. And so we went out up on the northeast side in a place called Stades. And Stades is actually the home of Captain Cook. And her mom's boyfriend has like a cottage up there. And so we went and stayed in that cottage, and like right next to the cottage is an old pub from like the 1700s. I think it's been open for like 300 years, and maybe I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it's been there for a long time, hundreds of years. And it was like the coolest little country pub. You go in there, and it's like your old English style. The walls were covered in like fox mounts, in those like horns that they hunted the fox with, guns, pistols, swords, spears, just the coolest antiques. I mean, it was just sitting in that pub alone was a fantastic experience. In the town of Stades is cool. It's like those cliffs that drop right off into the ocean, and then there's like this little valley that kind of goes into the ocean. And Stades is that whole um, sort of valley right there, and it's like picture perfect, beautiful. Like it's like that town is just like a snapshot of history. It like hasn't changed much. It's very historic, super cool. I don't know what that noise was. Is the vacuum going off now? The what is that thing called? The Roomba. Anyways, so Staves was cool, but then we went from there. We went to the actual countryside, like the hills, the forests, in a place called Hanby, which was next to, can't remember that town, what that town's called, but they got like these old castles. We went and saw the Whitby, we went and saw the Abbey at Whitby, which is like it's like an old cathedral, like an old church, I think. And from built in like 1200, I think it was built in 1200, and it's like still standing. But just the architecture was beautiful. I love seeing the architecture. Anyways, I'll get back on track here, but if you haven't been to England, I really recommend you go and you see some countryside, go see some castles. You've got to see a castle in your lifetime. If you've never seen a real medieval castle from like the 1200s, you need to put that on your list to go see before you die. It's insane. I can't even, like a European cathedral. Americans don't even know. They don't even understand, especially if you're not like from old America, if you're from like Houston, like a place like Houston or like LA or wherever, you don't even know what's out there in terms of architecture and beauty and landscape. It's anyways, I'm getting off on a tangent, but make sure you go see Europe, you go see the world. Um, so where was I? So August, that was August. Okay, we're looping back, and I get back in August, and it's like my employees are gone. I'm by myself again. I've got nothing lined up. So the last week of August was super slow for me. I was by myself again, and I was just trying to line up work. So rolling into September, I wanted to start off with something big. September was an okay month. I was building up again. I was building the schedule up again, and I just kept thinking like I've got to get some guys hired on, and I've got to figure out who's going to take over this company whenever I go and I take over for Pause, because I'm opening a health optimization studio, and I'm going to be managing that. I need somebody to run Shine Like a Diamond while I'm not there. And so I'm just like, how am I going to hire some? How am I going to find somebody? I mean, I had no idea. Well, I had gotten introduced over the summer to he was the head football coach at Second Baptist. And we were the friend that introduced me to him, the plan was to recruit some of his football players for the summers and the springs and the off season to work for me. But he got talking about his son, and he said, his son was kind of doing something really similar to what I was doing, and so we shook hands, we met, we went our separate ways, and then it was a couple months later in September that I actually got a phone call from him. He's like, "Hey man, I know we had talked a little bit over the summer." He said, "I remember telling you a little bit about what my son was doing. Would you be open to mentoring him?" And I was like, "Definitely. Like, heck yeah. Like I would definitely be open to helping him out. Have him give me a call." He actually put us in a text chain together. And so his son's name is Ben, and he called me, not too long after that, and we talked a little bit. And I was like, "Yeah, man, dude, I'm totally open to helping you out, helping you grow your business." And I was just kind of talking to him like, what's going on? And he was saying, I'm just kind of not in a good place, and not in a good place in life, and I'm just not really making any sales. Maybe have like one or two jobs every couple of weeks. And I was like, okay. And I was like, "How old are you, man?" And he goes, I'm 21. And I was like, "Dude, I remember when I was 21." He just, you go from, he was a high school football player. He was all state his senior year. He goes into college, and, you think you're going to go the college route, and it's not for everybody. It wasn't for me. I mean, even though I could have finished, I didn't want to. He didn't finish. He ended up dropping out. And so, he wants to take on this business. He wants to build this business of his. And, right out of the gate, things aren't going the way he wants it to go. And I just remember like being in his shoes. Like I remember those days where it's like, you don't know what you want out of life. You don't know. I still don't know what I want out of life. But point is, I'm in a direction now. He had no direction. And so, I ended up needing some help on a job. And so I called him and I said, "Hey man, can you come out here and actually help me out?" So he came out, he helped me out. We did the job, finished, and I went and had lunch with him. And I just started talking to him, and I was like, "Man, why don't you join my team?" My team, it was just me. "Why don't you join Shine Like a Diamond for a little bit? And that way you can have some support, some structure. You can have some backing while you're with me. I can teach you how to go door to door. I can teach you how to do things that are going to make you successful in the future. And I can just kind of like mentor you and help you grow." And I said, "You don't have to answer now, but like think about it." Well, he went home and thought about it. He called me back. He goes, "I'll take you up on the offer." I said, "Cool." So I got Ben on the team, right? I started him out on labor, and I was going and getting the jobs. He was doing the labor, but then I hired this other guy, this older gentleman who's kind of retired, and he's just wants some extra hours. So I actually put him on labor, and then Ben, I started working with. There's a squirrel above me, or a raccoon above me, scratching the. Go away. Anyways, so I put Ben on sales. Now this is where it gets interesting, right? Because I am training him in sales. And I've talked about it in my last podcast, or one of my last podcasts, how when you start in a sales position, the first 3 months or so, give or take, are miserable. Unless you have like sales experience, but if you don't have sales experience, like the first 3 months or so is really brutal. And I think that's where a lot of guys end up falling off. It's where I almost fell off. I remember just the brutality of it, the monotony, like if that's even the right word, it may even be the right word, but you're like not making any money. You're not making any sales. You don't have the script down. You don't know your own, like, you don't have like your own routine, things to say. You're just like robotic and nothing's like working. So that's what happened with Ben. I think like he started off, he made a couple sales, right? And I was like, yes, like he's got this. But then I remember like we had some really big hiccups moving through. He was getting discouraged. We had like a personality test on him. We do like personality tests on our guys. And like I have his whole sheet right here on my computer. And me and my business coach, we went over it. We knew right away, like, hey, this is the kind of guy he's gonna be. Excuse me, he's gonna get discouraged. He really needs your support. He really needs you to be there to kind of push him along at the beginning. He's somebody that's going to be loyal. He's somebody that's going to be very precise on when he's doing work. But he was like, you know what? He's going to end up like getting discouraged and lying to you and like making something up about like, hey, yeah, I'm outdoor knocking, but he's actually not because he's discouraged and he just doesn't want to face that. And I was like, cool. So now I know what to expect. Well, what do you know? We get into it and those exact things happen. So he was supposed to be outdoor knocking and I call him like, hey, how's it going, man? How things? Yeah, good. Yeah, no, just nobody's, no luck right now, but I'm going to keep going, blah, blah, blah. And he came back and he was just like pissed. He was like pissed. And I started like picking his brain, like, man, what's wrong? Why are you feeling this way? And he like owned up to it. He's like, actually, man, I lied to you. I wasn't door knocking. I was just sitting in my truck. I'm discouraged. And I was like, I knew that was coming already. I knew it before you even knew it. So that was pretty cool. The personality test is sweet because it really tells you a lot. And it's based on like sales, but it tells you a lot about a person. I've got one for myself and I need to actually dive back into it. So we start kind of working on this, right? I understand where his personality's at and I've got a lot of hope for him. And I've got a lot of, I invested a lot into him. And so this was like in the beginning of November. So we're pushing through. I'm pushing him. And a few things kind of come up here and there where I have to like send him home, like, hey man, you need to take the rest of the day off, blah, blah, blah. Not bad things, but it's just like part of this like sheet this personality assessment that we had talked about. And things started kind of going really south. Like his attitude started kind of really deteriorating. And so, I thought he was going to actually quit. I was like, I think he's going to quit pretty soon. And so I sat him down. I told him, hey man, we need to sit down and have a talk. So we went to some local Mexican restaurant up here. We sat down and I was brutally honest. I told him everything. He sat down, he listened. I told him, look, man, like you're obviously kind of in a slump right now. And I got a lot of aspirations for you. I want to help you out and I want to be able to mentor you and make sure that you're successful in your life and you're making a lot of money. I know the money's not here now and blah, blah, blah. I thought I did really well in the talk. I was brutally honest. And what I told him was, look, like, here's what you're missing. You are looking for everything else to point the finger at instead of having extreme accountability for your actions and your emotions. And what I really want to see from you is when you mess up, I'm not going to be upset. I'm not the kind of guy to get upset about you messing up. I mess up all the time, but what I want full accountability for your mess ups. I want brutal honesty. I don't like lying. I want honesty when you mess up. Like if you do something wrong, you mess up, or you don't, you feel a certain way and you don't go to brutally honest. Just or you wake up late. That was another thing. He was showing up, waking up late, and I was addressing all these things, and dude, after that, like it was a tough conversation because I was actually kind of nervous. But after that, man, Ben has been a night and day difference. He's a stud now. He is a stud. he's accountable. I mean, like literally the next day or two after that, he actually ended up sleeping in on accident, but he was fully like his total attitude changed. He came to me, he called me right away. Hey man, I know I'm messing up and I'm trying my best. I know I slept in, but I'm going to work on making sure this doesn't happen again. I take full responsibility for it. I will be there. I'll be there in 15 minutes. And I was like, dude, I appreciate that. Like, I appreciate the accountability. I'm not even mad. Since then, he hasn't woken up late. He's actually been getting up. I think he's been getting up earlier than I have. And this is like we're 6 weeks in from this talk now, and I see a shift in him, and he's still not making sales. He's still not making money, but his attitude, everything is different. So that was in like November, right? So let me actually back up and then I'll get back to this. In October, that's when he first came on. We had like our best month yet revenue wise. We made like 14,000. It was one of our best months yet. And the problem is it was one of the most expensive months yet. I think I profited like $1,500, like almost nothing. I almost broke even. It was like I didn't make anything in October. So that was a learning curve there, managing expenses. November was then another one of our best months, and we had managed the expensive goods. So I turned it around in November, and then December was like the slow time. And so the Ben story and this story is going to merge here in just a second. So December, nobody wants to spend money on anything, right? We still pushed through and we still filled up the last 2 weeks of December because I ended up taking off to Colorado at the end of the second week. So we filled up. I mean, we pushed through. We hammered it. We pushed through. We still filled up the schedule, and so we ended the year with a bang, right? And Ben's still not making sales, and I'm thinking like, oh man, I'm starting to sweat because I need him to perform. And he's going out, he's doing it, like he's doing the work, but it's like not clicking. And then on the last day or two before I leave to Colorado, boom, he makes this big 1, 2, 3 sale, like literally three houses in a row, and it was like $1,200. I was like, let's go. Like I was pumped for him. He was amped up. And we went and got those jobs done. We nailed it. I took off to Colorado, and I think he ended up going on a trip too or whatever. So it was like a good way to finish. Well, I think like he's not going to go back to work until like the week after Christmas, and then I'm up in Colorado, and I get a call from him or a text from him. And he's like, it's like a Monday. It's like the Monday before Christmas, like 2 days before Christmas. He's like, I just sold $1,200 worth of jobs, just locked them down. I'm going to go do them tomorrow. I was like, what? Let's go. Like, boom. Like he's getting after it. I didn't even know he was. He was out there getting after it. We get back and he's just rocking and rolling. I go out and door knock with him. It's like boom, 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 sale, sale, sale. And then the next day, sale, sale, sale. I'm like, this guy's cruising. Like, I'm not even making sales right now. And he's like cruising. I think he's like probably $3,000 ahead of me right now in sales for the last couple of weeks. For the month of January, I guess it's different because we kind of broke it up the end of December and the start of January. But cruising, he's cruising now. Ben is a monster. And he found his role. He found his what's the right word? His routine. He found his way to talk to people. And he's just I knew it was going to happen eventually. I was getting a little bit nervous, but he pushed through. I mean, he pushed through adversity. Like I so fully respect what he's done, the 180 turnaround that he's done. Like all he wanted to do is he's like, dude, I want to stop being a boy. I want to become a man. And he's done that. He's manned up, he's cowboyed up, he's changed his attitude, he's changed his perspective, he's set a vision, he's set a direction, and he just went and attacked. And he's freaking doing it. And I can't be more proud of him. Like, it's so cool to sit there and mentor this kid and almost think like, shit, like this guy is on he's like right on the edge of, I think, like quitting or like having a meltdown, to just a full 180. And he's my guy now. Like I fully, when he goes and door knocks, I'm like, I know he's going to come back with a job now. It's just awesome. It's awesome to see that. It's awesome to see that transformation, because now he is in a direction where he knows he can do it, and he's in a direction to where he's going to be successful in his life if he keeps on like this. And we're just going to keep on working at it. So that was a huge win for not only him, but that was a huge win for me, because I had invested a lot of time into him, and I expected him to take over the company and run this thing. And I was really worried for a second there. I'm not worried anymore. So, anyways, super proud of Ben. And that's what I want to see. That brings fulfillment to me, because, oh, cool. Thumbs up. That brings fulfillment to me, because that's what I want out of my life, is to be able to mentor people to success just like that, to help people. And look, I'm not going to say like I did any work or I did all the work. Like, he did the work. I just led him to the water, and I just supported him. I supported him through the hard times. And it's just, man, it's just cool to see it. It's cool to see that. And so if you're watching this, and that's like, you're thinking like, oh, that's like me. Like I'm in the trenches right now, or I remember being in the trenches, and I remember when it clicked like that. Like, it's a cool feeling. If you're in the trenches right now, keep pushing. Like, keep pushing. Find a mentor, find someone that can support you. Because if you've only been in it for a short time, you need more reps. You need more. Your body has to adapt to the big change that you're going through, the adversity and the stress that you're going through. Because if you're doing like door to door or sales or whatever it is, if you're running a new business, like it's a big change. Your brain, your mentality, your body is not used to it. So you have to give it time to adapt. It will click. It will start to change, but only if you go headfirst into it. If you just kind of dip your toe into it, it's not going to change. It's not. When you start owning up to your own problems, you start owning up to your own mistakes, you start holding yourself accountable, you start being brutally honest with yourself, it's going to change. When you do that, and then when you go headfirst into it. So just keep going. Just keep going. So that was a really, really cool part of 2025 was Ben. He was a huge, huge part of the kind of solidifying 2025. Bad month in October, good month in November. Ended the year with a bang. Ben went off. And then another thing that I started doing is I got recommended this book here. And it's called Claim Your Power. It's a 40-day journey to dissolve the hidden traumas that's kept you stuck and finally thrive in your life's unique purpose. And it's by Mastin Kipps. Mastin Kipp. It is a really in-depth, deep personal development book that's not cliche, and it really does reflect. Well, what it reflects is the training that I went through when I went through the somatic breathwork training. A lot of what he talks about in here is related to that. And so when we talk about how our past traumas affect us and how it's keeping us stuck, our past traumas that we're holding on to, we haven't ever been able to fully um, conquer them or express them. And so we're holding on to these traumas that are creating what they call like disease, but dis-ease. It's creating that in our lives, and it's keeping us basically dead. Like not like dead, but the idea of being numb, not living your full purpose, um, just being stuck. So I'm gonna talk about this more in future podcasts, but what I wanted to read real quick and kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at in this book. It's a 40-day journey. Dave Asprey wrote the forward, and it's really a fantastic read if you are wanting to claim your power and find your purpose in life. I think that this book, for a lot of you, is really going to resonate. Highly recommend the read. I haven't finished it yet. Um, I'm on like day 7 or something like that. You read one section at a time. It takes you through day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and it breaks it down on becoming aware of your basically like your traumas, your what he calls survival patterns, and how that relates to your beliefs, and how your beliefs create your emotions, and how your emotions tell your story and your thoughts and your mental level, and then how those impact your behaviors. And it goes like that from 1 to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes from your traumas, and how your traumas, and trauma doesn't have to be like, you can be like, doesn't necessarily have to be like you were sexually abused. Like for me, I don't have like major traumas in my childhood or my life. I have these small little things that happened to me that have kind of altered the way I think about things. Like for example, when we used to watch um, whatever, baseball on TV or whatever it was, and they would like do the interview afterwards, they'd be like talking and doing the interview. And I remember like my dad would always comment on something that they would like be doing. And so that made me think that like everybody else, whenever I was in front of a camera or whenever I was doing an interview or public speaking or whatever, was doing the same thing. And so it was really tough for me to do like this, or to do, public speaking, or like when I would do like an interview after a baseball game with the local media, I would get like super nervous. And somatic breathwork actually really helped me conquer that. But it could be small things. Some people have bigger traumas, obviously, that are affecting them to this day, like sexual trauma, or like some sort of abuse, or even things like war experiences, and people suffering from like PTSD, which is probably a whole nother realm. But nonetheless, we all have traumas in our life that we've experienced, and it affects us all differently. And so this book helps build awareness to that, and it breaks it down day by day. And so that's where I'm at now. I'm in the beliefs section, and like why I believe certain things that I believe. Dogs are going crazy, so I'm gonna cut the podcast. This is a fantastic book. I super recommend that you get this book and start reading through it. Um, and let me know what you think about it. If you decide you're going to get it and you're going to start going through this journey, let me know what you think about it. It's really an interesting, um, it is really an interesting book. So if you're at all interested in what I'm doing, or you are kind of doing something similar and you want to pick each other's brain, just reach out on Instagram, reach out on Facebook, on YouTube, wherever you see this, just send me a DM. Super happy to help mentor more people, help bring more success to more people's lives. That's really just what I want to do. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.